Newzroom Afrika's Ziyanda Ngcobo is live on the ground for us with the latest from Nongoma. Ziyanda, good evening to you. Earlier on in the evening, we saw the arrival of the remains of the monarch, and they made their way into the Royal Palace. Now, given the fact that the majority of people won't be allowed to be part of the proceedings taking place within those gates, what is happening outside tonight?
Well, I can tell you, Kathy, that there are vehicles lined up just outside the gate of the KwaKhethomthandayo Royal Palace here in KwaNongoma, but also to my left, and you won't be able to see it, Kathy, but there's a fire that's been started just outside the gate of the Royal Palace, and there's also a goat that has been slaughtered, and I actually went to go and inquire what the significance of the slaughtering of this goat is, and that fire being started outside there. And the men that I spoke to said that they're unable to share what the significance of that particular slaughtering of the goats means, and this is just an indication of the level of privacy around the intermenting that there are certain customs and rituals that are strictly private and that are strictly of the purview of the royal household, and the proceedings, as you've mentioned, will not be broadcast live. We are also outside the gates of the Royal Palace. It's only those of royal blood, I understand, and Amabuto who are going to oversee then the proceedings going further. And at this stage, all we know is that there is going to be this process later on this evening into the early hours of Thursday morning, and then afterwards, after the memorial service, the Category 1 service, we understand, according to Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi, that the King's will be read out at some stage. But for now, it seems as though the movements around the household consist of caterers who are coming in and out of the palace, and the chairs and whatever is going to be taking place behind me inside the palace. The logistics around that are seemingly being set up, but there are still Amabuto who are outside as well, just to show solidarity and to actually pay tribute to the AmaZulu King.
Ziyanda, there is naturally a curiosity about some of the events that will be taking place later on tonight, but as you're saying, there's been a call for the privacy of the family to also be respected around what it is doing during this period.
Absolutely, and the significance of this is, of course, this is no ordinary individual. This is the 8th AmaZulu monarch, the longest serving AmaZulu king, the direct descendant of Senza Ngakona. This is someone who forms part of a rich history of the AmaZulu nation, the largest ethnic group in South Africa, but also this is someone who served for 50 years during many different significant points in our country's history. The only AmaZulu monarch to serve in a democratic state, being able to foster relations between the state and merging a traditional leadership with a modern democratic state. That is something that has been hailed. And so while there's curiosity, there's also lots of discussions about what this particular process will look like going forward and what has been done before. There's these myths and discussions or folk tales about the fact that there's usually a warrior who is killed, or at least 10 servants who are killed to lay the foundation for the intermenting of the AmaZulu royal king. But we know that customs and tradition are not static, so we don't understand, or we don't know, rather I should say, whether or not that is still something that is done to this day since the establishment of the AmaZulu nation in 1816. But what we do know is that this is the AmaZulu king that most of us, and I say us and I'm including myself, that we know, young and old. And so this particular process that is going to be taking place today is a sacred one. And even just walking around this particular palace, there are certain places that men and women are placed on, but also it's considered a holy ground. on which we are walking. And so it's against this backdrop then that as we stand outside, there are processes and procedures that are taking place this evening, and really not much is being told for this very reason, that this is a sacred moment for the entire nation. What we do know, however, is that at some stage, it's not clear when, there will need to be a cleansing of the nation. And I can tell you that each and every time a guest has arrived here, most have been bringing with them cattle of different kinds to be entered into the 2 kraal that are here in the household. Kathy, I'm just going to stop and just try and show you Amabutho, who are more of Amabutho, who are actually trying to enter the palace, and it seems as though there are negotiations towards the front of the gate to allow them in. Amabutho are very significant to the AmaZulu nation. As you would have seen, they were at the forefront of most of the processes that have taken place today, starting from the time that the remains were fixed. And as you've heard there, Kathy, of course, really before entering the gates of the palace, during the formal greeting, when greeting a royal or entering the ground that they stand upon, Bayete, Wena, Wendlovu, that is how you greet a king, the king of the AmaZulu nation. And so this is where we are in terms of what is happening here at the KwaKhethomthandayo Royal Palace in KwaNongoma this evening.